Are you someone who's feeling something is not right in your career, that you feel unfulfilled and you're unhappy, and you feel that you want to do something to change the direction of your career? This could also apply if you are in transition, looking for a new job. In other words, if you are in between jobs. My name is Ewan. I'll be your facilitator for the next couple of hours, and I'll be talking to you on what you can do to redesign your career path to allow you to achieve what you want to do in your own life. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This particular topic I've been doing for the last few years, and in the last 3 to 4 sessions, I've actually done it as a full day session. Right? So today is actually the first time in quite a few years that I'm actually asked to do something, the topics to cover it in 2.5 hours. All right. So as you can see, as you will know later on, that I'm not able to cover the full day session topics. However, if you are interested in seeing what those topics, those things that I've covered in the full day are, you can actually go to this YouTube recording of one of my past webinars, which was also conducted on a full day session. Now, apart from today's topic, I have also done webinars on the other topics that you see here. All right. As those of you who have been to my past workshops before will know, I'm a practicing career coach. I've been as a career coach in my own business for almost 9 years now. Right? And my speciality, or rather, most people have come to me to seek help in changing the directions of their career, whether it is through redesigning what they are doing or actually doing a total career switch altogether. All right. So I'm going to use that knowledge, that insight with the hundreds of people that I've helped with either individually or in workshops like today, right? To share some of the thoughts and actions that you can do as well to redesign what you can do within your own career life. Okay? Right. Now, you are here for a lot of reasons, right? You are saying to yourself, hey, I have a lot of issues happening in my own career. What are these issues? Can you type into the chat box and let me understand what are some of the issues and thoughts that is asking you, hey, I need to do something to change what I'm doing right now in my job and in my career? Can you type into the chat box so I can have an idea of those things that you are faced with? And then I'll see if I can address them in today's session as well. Okay, someone says stagnant career. Anything else? Okay, too long in the same industry, difficult to pivot to other jobs, better employment opportunities. What else is there? You're looking for better opportunities, huh? You want higher pay, right? Fair enough. Anything else? Higher pay. A lot of interviews, but feedbacks are delayed. Okay. So it's something to do with your interview process. What else is there? What else is the issues that you are being faced with? Re-entering the workforce after a career break. Fair enough. Very good. Anything else? No demand for a skill set. Okay. Understand. I think fair enough. Some of those are very relevant issues. And in fact, if I look at it with the number of people that I've worked with in this webinar as well as in my own career, coaching clients, the topics that you see here, the issues that you see are pretty common among the rest. And I've already seen some keywords that you've actually typed into the chat box as well. So things are being stagnated, right? Better salary, right? You want new challenges, burnout, job insecurity, health concerns, right? Those are some of the major issues that many people are being faced with in their own careers, and they say, hey, I need to do something to bust out of this cycle, this spiraling cycle that's forcing me downwards. Okay, so before I begin, let me just make sure we all understand this notion of redesign. Okay, what is the definition of redesign? Redesign, in the most basic definition, is to revise in appearance, function, or content, right? So how does this apply to our own career? How does this apply to our own career? Well, if you look at it, the fact that you are here now means that you are really in the process of thinking about what you need to do, which means we have to take action, and we need to be proactive and plan ahead, right? The other thing that we need to do is really to map out, leveraging on what we are good at. VIPS stands for values, interests, preferences, and strengths or skills, right? Use what we are good at, what's important to us, to map out our desired career path. Here, the focus is on developing skills, knowledge, experiences to support growth in our career to achieve success, right? And this is really a gradual approach over time. You cannot do it at a snap of the finger and say, I want to do something about it by tomorrow, right? That is something that's not easy to do. Now, I want to differentiate this from career switching, right? Some of you may think, oh, redesigning is basically career switching. I want to differ on that. In fact, I'm actually also going to conduct a webinar on the 27th of March to talk in particular about developing a career switching strategy. So if you really want to focus down on career switching, you can apply and join in that webinar as well. Really, if I look at the definition of career switching, essentially it is a significant change from what you are currently doing now. All right, and you are really going to focus on acquiring new skills and experiences to go to a totally different career path. Okay, that's what career switching is all about. However, today's session is on redesigning your career. So the difference here is that career switching could be a component, an option for you when you are looking at redesigning your career. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture for yourself in terms of your own directions and your career. What are things that's causing you concerns, whether you're currently working now or if you are in between jobs, what you want to do eventually. Okay, so if we take a look at all the things that we are looking at to achieve career redesign, in other words, the planning, mapping out career path using what's our values, interests, preferences, as well as our skills and strengths. We want to focus on developing skills to achieve career growth. We want to do this over time. It's a gradual process. Okay, so today, couple of learning points over the next couple of hours I would like you to take away. Right? Number one, how do you align yourself with your desired career path? Okay, aligning means making sure that whatever direction you go, it is aligned to who you are. Okay, those of you who have been to my past workshop will know that I'm a really big proponent of making sure that whatever we do is aligned to who we are. So this is just another step in that stone of the path. The other thing I want you to take away from today is to really understand how to develop your list of options to further enhance your career progress. Okay, so these are the two takeaways from the next 2.5 hours or so. Now, those of you who are interested in knowing more about this notion of career redesign, you can actually go to the full day webinar recording in the link that I've just posted in the chat box as well. Okay, so that will actually give you a lot more in-depth into this. But so today, in the next 2.5 hours, I'm actually going to touch on some of the key points, right? But if you are wanting a little bit more in-depth, go into that a webinar recording itself and you take a look. In fact, that webinar recording, the link that I showed to you was part 2, right? There's part 1 and part 2. Essentially, today I'm going to cover is part 1, right? Part 2 is basically on action planning and all that, which you can find out more in those details. All right. Okay. Now, in my last live webinar, rather my last live class on this topic, I brought in Jane. Jane was an ex-client of mine, and she so kindly agreed to help share her experiences in doing some of the exercises that you guys will be doing today as well. All right. And she's kindly allowed me to share with you all her thoughts and concerns that she had to go through and how she resolved it using the information and techniques that I'm going to share with you. So why don't I let Jane tell you what it's all about.
Hello everyone. When I came to CUN, I've worked in marketing for over 20 years and was in a senior position in my company. But I was feeling unfulfilled and stagnant in my current role. I was working on the same type of marketing campaigns for years and felt like I was not growing or learning new skills. And my company didn't have any room for me to move further up the ladder as I was already ahead of the marketing team. I really wanted to know what my options were, especially when I heard rumors of a corporate takeover. At that time, I needed guidance and clarity to consider how I could redesign my career.
Right. So as you can see, Jane, when she came to see me, she was actually already working pretty senior position, but she wasn't happy. Okay, there were a lot of things going on in her job, in her career that she felt I needed to do something. Right? You may be in the same boat with her, but I can assure you that some of the things that she has gone through in terms of the exercises that made her think in a different way, I'm sure you can relate to as well. All right? Okay. So plenty of things to cover. Even in these 2.5 hours, even though I'm doing a short 2.5 hours, a lot of things to cover. Let's start, shall we? Okay. So let's go on to the first one. Here, I'm talking about how to align yourself with your desired career path. How to align yourself with your desired career path. And really, in order to do this, you must have a very high level of self-awareness. In other words, what you're good at, what you want to do, how you help people. Right? So this is really making sure that you know what is your professional identity, what is your personal identity, and the desired state for you should be that the professional and the personal identity should be aligned and in harmony. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to go through with you to see how we can align that for you. All right. Now, in order to do this, there are basically 3 components we need to understand, or rather, you need to understand for yourself. Okay, what skills you have. Okay, in other words, what you do well. Okay, what are the values? What is important to you in your career, right? And then also, what engages me, my passion. Okay, what are your interests, and how does your personality play in looking at your career growth? All right, so these are the 3 important areas that I'm going to go through with you over the next few slides. And in essence, if you look at it, these are the 3 things that we need to assess for ourselves. Okay, we need to assess for ourselves. If we look at skills, really the focus here is on what? It's on looking at the job function that we want to do or we want to go into, and really explore what skills are organizations looking for in my interest area. Right? What about values? Values, what is important to you in your career? The focus here is really on the environment, isn't it? What type of organization best supports what's important for you? What best supports your values? Okay? Interest and personality. What engages you? Your passion. So the focus here is on what? The things that you are going to do in your job, or the things that you are currently doing. Right? So exploration is basically what job, or the things that the nature of the job itself, how is it going to be aligned with my interests and my personality traits? Is that okay? So in a very simple way, these are the components that you really need to look at when you're trying to align your career to your own personality, interests, and who you are, basically. Okay, so we're going to touch upon this, and I'm going to do it in a very simple way. Right? I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to basically go through with you two little exercises. Now, for those of you who have been to my past workshops, I think that some of you, I see the names in the list itself. You have gone through this, but obviously it's always good to rehash and go through it again, because I think the more often you do this, the more succinct it's going to stick into your mind. All right, and then sometimes when you do it, you spot new things as well. Okay, so two exercises over the next maybe 15-20 minutes, I'm going to bring you through. All right, so the first one here, we're going to look at what motivates us. Why? Because in essence, if you look at it, whatever things we do, whether the level of success we have, how well we perform, the things that's going through our head in terms of our attitude, our goals, what we want to achieve, it's really about whether we have the motivation to do all those things. And in essence, motivation, right, comes from what? It comes from what is important for us, right? And it comes from what is meaningful to us. Okay? If you have something that is meaningful to you and you find that it's very important, you will be motivated to do something about it, to use that skill. Okay? So that is the premise, that is the underlying assumption that we all need to understand for this next exercise itself. Motivation. How do we then understand what is meaningful to us, what is important to us? Well, this is a little exercise that I always ask many of my clients to do, as well as my workshop participants. This is called the meaningful experience exercise, right? And in essence, it is trying to understand what motivates you, right? You see the link there? That is a link to a short extract of the exercise, the recording of the exercise done in another session. Right? That link, again, as I said, will be provided to you from WSG after the end of today. Okay, so you can take a look at that and view the exercise in more detail. Right? In essence, what I need you to understand this is very, very simple. Okay, you have 4 columns there. Okay, your job title, whether it's part-time, full-time, voluntary, or whatever, even can be your past jobs. Right? Activities related to job, what are the things that you do in those jobs? Okay, what you like most about the job, what you dislike most about the job. Okay, very simple 4 columns, right? So the trick here is this. At the very minimum, you list down at least 3 past or current activities in your job that you are doing right now. Why 3, you may ask? Anything less than 3, you cannot spot a pattern. Okay? 3 is the minimum for you to be able to spot a pattern. What is the pattern? The pattern is essentially looking at what you like and what you dislike. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do, to spot a pattern. Okay, now, Jane went through this exercise with me. I will share with you what's Jane's output. Okay, so this is what Jane has done. If I just make sure that you can see the whole screen. All right, so Jane has basically gone through the same activity that I just shared with you. And maybe I'll ask her to actually talk about this with you.
After analyzing the themes in my past roles, I noticed that I enjoy collaborating with others, making a positive impact, and learning new skills. On the other hand, I disliked doing the same type of work repeatedly, dealing with difficult personalities, and having limited resources. These themes proved very useful in helping me consider what I wanted in my career next steps.
So you can see this, all right? What Jane really looked at was what was the pattern for her in the things that she liked and the things that she didn't like doing in her past jobs. Okay? So by listing all these things down, it was very clear to her what those things were. So that is your first exercise that you need to do to understand what you like and what you dislike. Okay? Now, you may ask yourself, all right, so if I do this, how is it going to help me? How is it going to help me? Well, again, if you come back to this, right, it is about what then motivates you to do the things that you want to do, whether it's in your job. Sometimes people use the exercise to actually apply to their own personal life as well. But in essence, it's looking at what motivates you. All right. And by listing all those things down, you actually are able to identify what's important to you as well. Okay. In your career, what's your career values, right? And in essence, also gives you an idea of what are your interests and what are the things that drives you in terms of your personality. Okay. All right. So the meaningful experience exercise, a very, very powerful tool, simple but powerful. Okay. So I really urge you after today's session, go give it a try. Go try your hand at this. Even for those of you who have already done it in the past from my past webinars, try it again. Or maybe share the results with someone that you trust. Share with them, talk it through with them. Right? And then they will tell you, sometimes they say, hey, they will tell you something that maybe you didn't spot before. All right? So give it a try. I urge you to give it a try. All right. The next exercise, a very simple exercise again, okay, is again based on what you have seen in this meaningful experience exercise, but again, it reinforces it, but adds another angle. It adds another angle. Okay, here we are adding the angle of your skills, your strengths. All right. Now here, skills, right? I refer to a broad definition of skills, hard as well as soft skills. Hard as well as soft skills. Right? So you all know what hard skills are, right? Hard skills are really definable, technical skills, project management skills, accounting. Those are hard skills. Soft skills is what? Teamwork. Very detailed. All right? Very flexible. Those are soft skills. Now, for this exercise, list down both hard as well as soft. Okay? Why? Because in essence, again, the combination of your hard and soft skills will tell you how you go about helping people. I'll elaborate a little bit later on when I show you examples of this. All right. Again, you can go through to that video itself to actually see an in-depth description, step by step, on how you can do this. All right. I'm going to bring Jane in again to show you an example of what she has done. What she has done. Right. You can see in the boxes, the 4 boxes, the different color boxes, I put some terms there. Some terms there. What are these terms? In the purple box, which it says, I'm good at this and I like to do this. The combination of something that you like to do and something that you are good at means that you are really motivated to use those skills. Right? That's why we call it the motivated skills. Right? Burnout, red. What does it mean? You're good at it, but you don't like to use it. I'm sure a lot of us have got that, right? Many people, you feel stressed out because you've been asked to do something. Everybody thinks that you're good at it, but you don't like to use it. The more you use it, the more stressed you are, you burn yourself out. That's why we call those burnout skills. Right. Yellow box, top left-hand corner. What are those? I am not good at this, but I like to do it. Which means what? Which means that really, I want to learn more about this so that I can be better at this. Right? So skills that you have that fall into that yellow box, you are not good at this, but you really want to learn how to do this. We call it developmental because those are skills you want to learn more about it, how to use it. All right? Irrelevant, bottom left-hand corner. I'm not good at this. I don't like to do this. What does that mean? Well, You could look at it a couple of ways. One, obviously, is to say, it doesn't matter to me. I may have those skills, but I'm not good at it. All right, so I don't bother about it. Or another way to look at it is this: I'm not going to use those skills in my next career path. Okay, so therefore it's not relevant to me. So in all essence, we call it irrelevant skills. Okay, now all of us have that as well. All right, let's take a look at Jane. She went through this same exercise. What were her results? Her motivated skills, what were they? She said she was very good and very interested in doing these, developing marketing campaigns. Okay, she wanted to collaborate with a team. She's very good at this, and she likes to do this. Managing social media, right? Making positive impact in the community. She was very motivated to do this, right? Learning new skills, creating content. Here, content she meant by social media content. Okay, so those things are what she's very motivated to use. She feels that she's good at this, and she really likes to use those set of skills. So you see that, right? It's a mixture of hard and soft skills. All right. Let's look at what her burnout skills are. Burnout skills are. Analyzing data, right? Managing difficult personalities, dealing with limited resources. Right? Now, she has been told she's actually very good in these areas, right? In her past history, her career growth, all her bosses have said she's very good at doing all those things. But truth be told, every time she uses those skill sets, she feels very stressed out. She feels very stressed out. Okay, she knows she has to do it, but she feels very stressed out. All right, let's take a look at her developmental skills. Right, remember these are skills that she's not good at, but she likes to do it. In other words, she wants to learn how to do it more. She's very interested in those areas: fundraising, organizing events, teaching other people how to do things, evaluating. Interesting. She likes to, I think that's a combination of the teaching, evaluating. She likes to guide, she likes to help people, she likes to evaluate what's going on. Okay, so she feels that she's not up to par in that area, but she really wants to learn to do better in that area. Okay, now irrelevant, very quickly she works through this. She working with numbers, doing repetitive tasks, working in isolation. These are the things that she hopes in the next job or in her forward career path, she doesn't need to use. Okay? You may have similar things. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means, you can do so as an example for you so that you can go and do a similar exercise for yourself as well. All right? So now the question here is this. So what if I know all this? Does it mean that I want to make sure I find a job or a career that only allows me to do everything in the motivated skills box? I want to ignore jobs that forces me to do things in the burnout skills box? It's a yes and no answer. It's a yes and no answer. Right? Essentially, if you look at it, right, you are motivated to use things that you are good at and that you are very interested in. So it's essentially the top row itself. It's in the top row itself, right? In the developmental box, in other words, the orange box, your objective should be to push it to the right-hand side to the purple box, right? Because your level of passion, your level of interest is there. Therefore, you want to find jobs which allow you to do that, or you want to find a career path which allows you to do that, right? Because in that, when you are in those roles, you are very motivated in your job and your career tasks, right? However, you shouldn't ignore things in the red box, especially because let me tell you this: no job allows you to do everything in the top box 100% all the time. Okay, there will be some parts of your job, your career, that will force you to do things in the red box. Okay, so that is the reality in our careers, in our jobs. All right, even in what I'm doing today, right? As a career coach, as a facilitator, as an instructor, most of the things I do are up there, right? Time to time, I have to do things that makes me stressed out. Okay, makes me, if I do too much of it, burns out. Right? However, I know what these are, so I manage those things. I manage those things, right? So the essence of going through this exercise essentially is giving you awareness. Awareness. Okay? Awareness of what? What you're good at, what you prefer to do, where you want to further develop. Right? What is the saying? As the saying goes, if you're aware of something, you can move forward and craft your direction based on the better self-awareness that you have. Okay? Now, the other thing that is really, really strong from this awareness is then it tells you how you help people. How you help people. Now, why is this so important? Why is this so important? If you look at it, the way we help people is really a combination of things, right? A combination of what we are good at, right? And what we are interested in. Okay? And essentially, that's what we have, those two exercises have actually helped you to identify what you are good at and what's your passion, what's your interest, right? The combination of that motivates you, right? And therefore, it helps you to identify how you help people. How you help people. Something missing here, right? What is the missing part here? The missing component is the employer. Is the employer. All or most employers, it's fair to say, are risk averse. They don't want to take risks, right? They want to hire people that fits into their criteria. What is their criteria? Their criteria to be able to run and help the company do the things that they want to do. Okay? So we need to address that as well. In other words, then we need to then find out who needs what we can offer. Who needs what we can offer, and who is willing to pay what for the things that we can offer. And usually that's the bosses, the employers itself. Right? So very, very important, because if we know that, we understand what is the benefit we give to people. Okay? So very simple. Although we know what drives us, our expertise, our passion, right? Although we know this, that's only half the story. Because if we don't match what we are interested in and what we are good at with what other people, especially employers, what they need, then is a worthless exercise, right? So you need to know what is your value add, what benefit do you have, do you give, so that other people, employers, will recognize this and say, I want to hire you. I want to hire you. Right? So that's the important part. And what's the best way to find this out? What's the best way to find this out? Is to find out how you can solve their problem, the employer's problem. Okay? You need to identify, first of all, what are the problems you solve. Okay? Because when you can solve a problem, you give benefit to the person who's having that problem. You give value add to the person who's having the problem. Right? So once you can understand this, right, the benefit we give, when you understand what's the benefit you give, right, you match it with the employer who has that problem. You can solve their problem. You become important to them. You become important to them. I hope you understand this principle. Why do employers hire people? They hire people because there is a job to do, right? The job is basically trying to grow the company, solve problems and all that. Even growing companies, right? You have problems there, like how to grow a company, how to grow the business, right? So if we know what the problems are that the employer is facing, and we find that, hey, I can solve their problems, you bring it to the employer, convince them, then they say, wow, you can help me, you are of value to me. Okay? So that is the basic premise. Is that okay so far? Right? So the notion here is that looking at yourself as a problem solver. Looking yourself as a problem solver. So how do we do this? How do we do this? A very simple three-step process. Very simple three-step process. Again, a link to the video will be given to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through with you very quickly on what these things are, right? So if you want to take a look at these three things, what they are, essentially, most people find it very easy to list this thing down. Your skills, right? So I'll give an example here. Those of you who have got these skills, you may be able to relate to this. So the example here is what? Extensive people management. Okay, you've got extensive people management experience. You've got a great track record of building effective teams. Right? So if you have those skills, right, this is actually the easiest thing for us to list down. Right? What are our skills? What are our experiences? Very, very easy. The next easy thing that many people do is really this portion itself, right? This portion is related to your accomplishments. Okay, so in the CV you always say, what are my accomplishments, right? You always put down there, right? So this one is again also very easy to do, right? So essentially, what are the things that you have done? Okay, by building conducive team environment, you have mentoring experience, you provide very clear direction. Again, if you look at it here, I've classified both hard and soft skills together. So these two things, very easy to do for all of you. Okay, so you shouldn't have any problems in doing that. The middle portion here is something some people have a challenge because it is perhaps a new concept for many of you. Okay, it is basically a bridge between these two. So that's why I put it in the middle. It is a bridge between your skills and experience to how you solve using your skills and experience. Okay, problems I solve. Problems I solve. For those of you who have got this people management experience, right? What do you think are some of the things that you can solve? What are some of the problems you solve? Okay, somebody said poor performance, low morale. Yep, right? Any others? Motivate team, improve company productivity. Okay, low company productivity is the problem. Improve is the way you do it. Customer complaints, meaning high level of customer complaints. Fair enough. Okay. Equality, I'm not sure what I understand, but inequality, in other something is not right. Okay, fine. Right? Processes, again, I'm not sure what is the problem with the processes. Right? You got to be very specific. What is the problem with process? You want to improve processes. What is the issue with the processes? Okay. Be very specific about this. What are the issues with the processes? Workflow, okay? Workflow not doing well, you want to improve that. Okay, so I want you to really understand, really be very succinct about what are the problems, okay? Because some of the terms that you mentioned are relating to this, how you solve it. So you want to know what the problems are, okay? So in this case, right, some of you have mentioned this already. The problems are high staff turnover, low staff morale, underperforming teams. Okay, somebody mentioned collaboration. Maybe that is not the problem. The problem is a lack of teamwork, right? A lack of teamwork. That could be a problem, right? So you understand that the problems are there. What are the problems, right? Once you know what the problems are, you can take that knowledge you have of your problem solving skills and go and take it to companies Find those companies with that set of problems, right? And you put yourself in a very strong position to be able to help them because they need help in that area and you are someone who can help solve their problems. Okay? Hopefully you see this, right? Because I think this is a very, very important concept I need all of you to understand. Okay? So it is not just about listing your skills and your accomplishments. That is not enough in today's world anymore. Because if you only put down skills and accomplishments, what happens? You are forcing the employer, the prospective employer, to speculate, okay, you can do this, you have done this, how is it going to help me? How is it going to help me? Right? Why leave it to chance? Why not be very clear about the things that you can help them with, which is this part here. The problems you solve. The problems you solve. Are we okay with this? All right. Now, some people have asked me, okay, how do I identify what problems companies are going through? Very simple. But it takes work, right? You cannot see it on the surface level. For example, when a job application, job opening comes in, it's advertised. It says, this person is supposed to do this, 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 this. Sometimes in the wordings of the requirements and the job description, they have indication of what the problems are. Okay, sometimes, right? Not enough. Don't just base it on that. Dig deeper. Find out who the company is. Dig deeper, whether it's from online resources or talking to people in the network. And then say, hey, this company just advertised something in the job opening. Okay, what's happening down there? Why are they finding people? Get your network, get your online resources to help you identify what are the real problems. Sometimes the problems that they specify could be symptoms of the real disease. Okay. The other option here is those of you who attended my personal branding workshop a couple of weeks ago will hear this in a lot more detail. Essentially, it is about how you take this particular portion here, put it out into your personal branding platform and tell people, hey, I'm very strong at solving all these problems, right? Then by doing that, you attract opportunities from companies or people who have that problem and then say, hey, I want Albert to help me with this problem because I saw that Albert is able to do this. Okay, that's where the opportunities come in. Are we okay so far? Are we okay so far? All right. So I want to really emphasize this. You need to understand it is not enough just to know your skills and your strengths. It is not enough to know what accomplishments you have done. You need to be very clear and succinct. Combine these two and tell people or make it very obvious to yourself at least by having those things, my skills and my accomplishments, what are the value I bring to the table? What is the value I bring to the table? How do I help people? Right? That is the problem that you solve. That is the problem that you solve. Let's take a look at Jane. Jane has gone through this same exercise with me. Yeah? She's gone through this same exercise with me. What has she done? So she listed down her skills and experience. Developing marketing campaigns, collaborating with a team, managing social media. Right? She also lists down her accomplishments. Right? Create comprehensive marketing strategies that align with business objectives and effectively reach target audiences. Develop impactful social media strategies to engage audiences and build awareness and loyalty. Foster close-knit team to leverage collective strengths to achieve marketing goals and deliver successful campaigns. You can see that Jane actually put a lot of thought in this, okay? Because her description of what she has done and what she's good at is very clear and distinct, okay? I want you to develop your statements into as a detail as possible, maybe into the extent that what Jane has done, okay? Again, Jane spent a bit of time doing this. Obviously, she bounced back and forth with me. But the key thing here is to spend time understanding this. So Jane has got skills and experience. She has got statements relating to how she solves it, what her accomplishments were. Now, what are the problems she solves? What are the problems she solves? What do you guys think? Maybe you guys give it a try. Type into the chat box. What do you think are some of the things that Jane can solve? Given those two things that she's her skills and experience and her accomplishments, what are some of the things that Jane can solve? Any improve brand image, low brand awareness, or low brand awareness is a problem, yeah. Poor brand reputation, low engagement on social platforms. Good. Customer attrition, I like that. Thank you so much for helping. All right. So essentially, this is what Jane came up with when she did this exercise. All right. So she says, poor consumer sales of new product launch. I think someone mentioned that. Low engagement and growth on social media platforms. Again, somebody mentioned that. I saw that. Resulting in decreased brand awareness. Brand awareness was there as well. Inefficient collaboration within teams, resulting in missed deadlines, decreased productivity and quality of work. Right? But some of the things that you mentioned as well, she has already spotted that, but there was some that probably she can actually look into as well. Right? So these are some of the things you have to identify for yourself. Right? If you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. All right. That was that section on self-awareness. How to align yourself with your desired career path. Right? So let's do a quick recap. Of what we discussed over the last almost 15 minutes. Yeah. First off, we started by saying, there needs to be alignment between what we do professionally and who we are as a personality. Right? There needs to be an alignment. Right? How do we find this alignment? Is by understanding three key components. Okay, what we do well, what's important to us, and what engages us. Okay, by understanding these three components, we are very well on the path to seeking alignment between our professional and personal identity. Okay, now we then discuss how do we find these things out. We basically went through a couple of exercises. Yeah? One is on meaningful experiences, and the other one is on looking at what you are good at, in other words, your competency versus your preference. Okay, by doing these two exercises, it gives you a great idea of these three components that you see there. What's important to you, what you do well, what engages and drives you. Okay? Because all this is about what? Motivation. Motivation in terms of how you help people. Because how you help people essentially is what you do well and what interests you. Right? That's important. We went to talk about then we need to identify what is our value add, right? In other words, what is the benefit we give to people? And I went on for about 10-15 minutes, basically emphasizing the critical importance of understanding this notion of being a problem solver. Once you know what problems you solve, you become and you go to a company that needs those problems to be solved, you become valuable to them. You become valuable to them. Right. In the last 10 minutes or so, I discussed on how we identify the problems that we solve. Okay, using basically a three-step process. Okay, using our skills and experience, using essentially our accomplishments, then taking a look at the middle portion, which is the red arrow, and trying to understand, with my skills and my accomplishments, right? What are the problems? What is the value add I bring to the table? What's the value add I bring to the table? Okay, so far, right? So in essence, if you look at it, we are trying to find out all the 4 circles that you see here. Okay? Expertise, passion, who needs it, and who is willing to pay for it. The things that we do. All right? We need to identify how we help people, but at the same time, we need to understand what is the value add we bring so that there are people that's willing to pay for that. And we reach out to the people that are willing to pay for that value that you bring to the table. It could be your current employer. It could be a new employer. We need to understand this. All right? So let's hear from Jane.
After going through the exercises, I have gained great insights about my skills, preferences, and the problems I can solve. In the past, I usually just listed down all my skill sets and experiences. However, by doing the skills exercise, it was empowering to see a clear picture of what I excel at and enjoy doing, as well as areas where I have room for growth. The skills exercise also helped me in looking at how I can help others. Previously, I focused more on what I could do as a marketing person. But I realized this was too one-sided, and ignored issues others are facing. It's so much more impactful when I can present myself as someone who can solve their problems. It makes it easy for me to connect much quicker as a problem solver, as someone that can help them.
Jane actually brought up a very good point, which I want to emphasize again. Okay? Too often, many job seekers, many people who are looking for a new direction, new career, they focus too much on themselves, right? It's natural. You keep thinking, okay, I'm good at this, these are my accomplishments. Fair enough. But in today's world, right, when there's so much competition, when things are changing so quickly, you need to move one step beyond that, right? And which is what? To look at the other side of the table, to look at the employer's point of view or the prospective employer's point of view. They are looking for people who can help them, right? So you need to bridge that gap. It's not enough to know how good you are, what your accomplishments are anymore, okay? You need to understand how then you bring that to the table to help them. That's why this concept of being a problem solver becomes so much more important nowadays. Is that okay? It brings the other perspective. You have to consider the other person sitting across the table from you, figuratively speaking. Okay? You can't think of yourself anymore, right? You have to think about how you bring value to the other party. Is that all right? Okay. Now, why did I want to spend a bit of time talking about the self-awareness portion? Because if you don't know about who you are, what you do well, and what value you bring to the table, right? It's going to be very difficult for you to then understand the next portion, which is about looking at what is possible for you. What are the possibilities for you? Okay? So hopefully, you got enough of the first section about self-awareness to allow you to then think about the next portion, which is the possibilities for you. Okay? So let's spend the next few minutes on this. So here, it's really about understanding how to develop your list of possible career options. Okay? I'm not going to tell you what those options are, but it is going through to tell you how you can do so. How you can do so. So if you look at your situation now, okay, whether you are in a current job or whether you are looking for a new job, right? In between jobs, for example. Very quickly, what are the possible options for you? What are possible options for you? Essentially, there are only two portions. It falls into two categories if you look at it, right? Continue with what you are doing, right? Continue with what you are doing, right? Or you look for something different. And this applies to whether you are in a job now or whether you are in between jobs. Okay? So continue with what you've been doing or are doing or look for something different. Essentially, those are the two options. But within each option, there are various sub-options for you. So let me go through what these are. So let's talk about the first one. You continue with what you're doing, right? Whether it's the same job type or in the same company, whatever, right? Now, those of you who have mentioned earlier on about the issues that you're being faced with, okay? Those are very real issues. So if you are thinking, can I continue with what I'm doing right now? What are some of the questions that you have to ask yourself? What are some of the questions you have to ask yourself? Maybe you try. If you are thinking about sticking it out, okay, going down the same career road that you've been doing all your life or over the last few years, or you're saying that now you're having difficulty in your current job, right? But you want to stick it out. What are some of the questions you need to ask yourself to decide whether it is worthwhile for you to stick it out? What stage of career life cycle? Someone said, okay. Do I look forward to going to work most of the time? Fair enough. Do I need to take a pay cut or don't I need to take a pay cut? Well, it's a possible option, possible thing to decide. Anything else that's going through your head? Is it meaningful? I like that. Is it meaningful? What else? Is there something about other people around you that you need to ask yourself? Cost to your mental health, right? What about the people around you? What about the people around you? How would sticking it through whatever issues you have, despite whatever issues you have, how does that affect the people around you? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about that? Is that a question you ask yourself? Well, let me suggest this to you. I would suggest that that would be the first thing you ask yourself is this. By sticking it through, how is it going to affect me? Somebody mentioned mental health. Yeah. But also very, very important, please don't underrepresent the people around you. How is it going to impact others? Okay. We all know this. If you are unhappy in a job or unhappy in a career, right? We can sometimes bring that unhappiness and affects the people around us as well. Okay? So please don't ignore that very critical component because the people around us will be the people that we lean on for support. Okay? So, very important. Other questions you may ask yourself if you're going to stick it out. Okay? How long can I last? How long will this situation last? Right? So, the question of how long. How long can I last? How long can I tolerate? But also, how long will this situation last? How long will this situation last? And then one other question that many, many people tend to ask is this, because it is with hope in their eyes and their heart, right? Will it get better? Wow. Because we always want to say that, hey, things will get better, right? So we ask ourselves, will it get better? You know, all the difficulties that I'm facing right now in my current career path, in my current organization, my job, I know it's bad, but will it get better? Well, let me tell you this, okay? Sometimes, whatever things that you are going through may not be solvable. Why? Because it's reality. It is reality. And sometimes when it's reality, the issues are real, you can't solve it. You can't solve it. Right? So, can you think of some issues that people would face that no matter what you do, you cannot solve that problem that they are facing now? Can you think of anything that, some of the issues that if your employer, if your employee, you cannot change that. You cannot change that crazy boss. Well, that's a yes and no. Because sometimes, okay, I'll go through in detail later on, right? Why I say that. Huh? Any others? Poor state of the economy. Yeah, you can't change that, right? Because maybe the company is operating in the part of the economy that's not doing well. Top ranks the tone. Well, fair enough. Yeah, could be. People at a way up there are doing things that that's detrimental to people further down the line. Could be, right? Well, if you look at it, certain things we cannot solve would be things like what? Company is not doing well, okay? Because maybe the economy is not doing well, like the industry decline, right? Company that's been bought over. Sometimes the company is doing well, that's why it's been bought over also, right? Could be that reason, right? And because of that, maybe companies closing down, right? So these are just some of the examples of things that you cannot solve. You cannot solve, right? So one of the things that you have to then analyze the issues that you are going through. Can it be solved? Right? You have to look at that very carefully and understand. Can it be solved? All right. So let's take a look at what Jane is going through. What Jane is going through. What her issues are.
I felt my company structure did not allow me to progress beyond what I was doing now. Was already the head of the marketing department and running my own team. Product development was done at corporate HQ, and my role was basically to introduce the products and made sure it sold well. But we had very limited inputs into product design. There was also strong rumors about the company being bought up by a larger global entity, and this made me worried too.
So at that point in time, when Jane came to see me, those were the things that were bothering her. A large part of it were things that are outside of her control. But later on, you'll find out that there were some things that are actually within her control as well. Okay? Part of the things that are outside of her control were the way the company was structured, right? The processes. Because she was very ambitious, she wanted to do bigger things. But because of the way the company is structured, she couldn't do a lot of things that she wanted to do. Okay? So those were the what issues that Jane was being faced with. So once you have identified those issues, right? Once you have identified those issues, then you need to ask yourself more questions. More questions. Right? What are those questions? Understand fully what is currently happening now. Whether it's within your company, whether it's within the economy or the industry that you're interested in. What is currently happening now? Right? Analyze that. Okay? And then really understand, okay, what is it you want to do? Okay, and this comes back to the exercises we did earlier on, right? Because you have already thought about your problem solving areas, which then gives you a very good idea of what you want to do. Because once you know what your problem solving skills are, what areas that you're good at and you're passionate about, it really gives you a really good direction as to what you want to do already. Okay, then you have to think about this, right? Is there anything you can change? Is there anything you can change? Right? And if you do want to change, are you sacrificing anything? Are you sacrificing anything? Okay? If you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. All right. I think it's very key questions you need to ask yourself. Very, very key questions you need to ask yourself. Okay. Now, incidentally, these questions are very similar to any change you want to make, right? Even when you are undergoing renovation. Those of you who have undergone renovation will know that those questions are also very relevant, right? I'm going to use that renovation analogy into the way we look at what are the possible options for our own career path. Okay? So essentially, when you do a renovation, there are two ways to look at it. One is a structural change, the other one is a redesign change. So what do we mean by that? Okay, so if I look at the renovation, all right, I just use the analogy of renovation first. When we want to change something structural, let's say in the house that we're living in, something structural. Those of you who are fortunate enough to live in a landed property, we look at a structural change. Right? What is it? Do you all know? If you do a structural change in the property that you are doing, right? It is essentially looking at maybe knocking down the whole building and building a new thing, or building a new wing or whatever, right? Or doing a total A&A, what they call an A&A. Okay? That's a structural change. Now, how does this apply to our job? How does this apply to our job? Right. So These are just some examples of a structural change in our jobs. Okay, you go to a totally new role within the same company, a new department, or you look at a new team, join a new team. Okay, so these are structural change. In other words, it's totally different from what you're doing now. The setting may be different. Okay, but essentially you're still looking at it within the company that you're in. Okay, this is all what I'm saying here can also apply in some instance to those people, those of you who are in between jobs, right? Because then you're looking at whether you should be joining a company in the same manner, the same environment that you were before. Bearing in mind that those things in the previous environment still cause you issues. Okay, I'm going to elaborate a bit later on that. Right. So structural change in your current job, current department, current role. Okay, so it's a new role, new department, new team. That's structural change. Redesign. What do we mean by redesign? Again, using the analogy of what? Of renovation. Now, this one, apartment, people living in HDB's apartments as well as landed property, you should know this. You should think about this. When you want to redesign your apartment, your house, what are some of the things that you can do? What are some of the things you can do? You could maybe knock down a room, knock down a wall, right? Or reconfigure that room to a different purpose, right? So you're still within the same structure, you're still within the same place, right? But you just tweak a little bit to make your life better. You make you feel better about the environment that you're living in. So that's redesign. So how do we then translate this into career terms, our career terms? If you look at it really, can we change our scope, job scope? Can we tweak? What about responsibilities? Can we delegate some responsibilities? Can we add some responsibilities to us? What about the processes? Can we tweak some of the processes? Right? Can we make ourselves accountable for something else or something more or something less? Right? So these are some possibilities for you to redesign your career and job. Okay? So Jane went through this thinking. And Jane came up with a few thoughts about what she can do. Why don't you take a look at this? Huh?
One possibility was to seek out an internal mentor to help guide me better. There were one or two senior and experienced people whom I respected very much, and could be possible mentors. Another possibility was to advocate for the introduction of a new unit specifically looking into more community-focused initiatives for the company. This has long been a passion of mine, and would certainly be something I was keen to drive. If the idea to introduce a new community-focused unit fell through, I could look at how my team could develop such initiatives internally. New media channels such as TikTok and Instagram were gaining ground quickly, and I felt we could develop more expertise in these areas too.
So if you look at it, right, Jane had to sit down and think through, right, the questions that I raised just now, right? Analyze what's currently happening, right? Analyze what you can do, what are you sacrificing, okay, what you want to do, right? Then she took a look at the two possibilities. Can she make a structural change, or is it better to do a redesign of what she's doing now? Okay, so maybe this is something you can think through, because then you're putting options on the table right now. Remember, the whole discussion here is about getting you to think about what's possible for you, right? How you decide this is really down to what's important to you. Okay, but know what your options are in the first place. What your options are in the first place. All right. So essentially, this would apply for people who are currently considering sticking through it in your current job or in your current career path. Right? So sticking through it. Now, for those of you who've decided, nah, not worth it, I want to look for something different. I want to look for something different. Okay, fair enough. If you decided you want to go down this path, right, then you need to look at a few things now. Okay. Firstly, remember this thing? Remember this thing, right? I talked earlier about it, right? You need to look at a few key areas, right? You assess yourself in those three areas of what you do well, what's important to you, what engages you, and then subsequently those career exploration areas. Okay? So keep this in mind first. I'm going to come back to this in a little while, right? But this is very important for you, right? Now, many people have said that, oh, it basically means I want to change careers. I just change careers so easy. Let me caution you first, okay? Changing careers is one option that you can consider, yes, all right? But please understand there are a few things that you need to consider before you look at changing careers. Why? Let me explain. Okay. Remember the definition of changing careers, right? Is totally doing something different from what you are currently doing right now in terms of a career path. And you need to focus on acquiring new skills and experience for this new path. Now, I'm going to talk about this, as I mentioned, on the 27th of March, right? So the details are going to discuss down there, but I just want to highlight a few key things as a prelude to that discussion. But it's also relevant to the way you develop options for you for today's session. Okay. First thing here is this. I want to bring you to this matrix. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 boxes. Okay. Career, industry. Okay. So box 1, same career, same industry. Box 2, same career, different industry. Box 3, different career, same industry. And box 4, everything changed. Let me ask you, which is the most difficult thing to do? Can you type into the chat box, which is the most difficult thing to do? Box, right? I've got a couple of 4s, 1, 3. Any others? Right. Majority says 4. Majority says 4. And you're right. Okay? When you change career and change industry, right, your risk of not achieving that is higher because it is more difficult to do. Because in essence, you're trying to reinvent yourself. Reinvent yourself. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? But you need to do a lot of work because the challenges are very high. Now, what is the option? Obviously, the option here could be 2 or 3. Right? If you don't want to stick on to one, either 2 or 3. And this is what we call pivoting. Pivoting, then in other words, you are pivoting to one direction or the other, but you're still maintaining something that you are strong in, right? So you could be pivoting to the same career but different industry, or you could pivot to a different career but the same industry. And then eventually you may end up in box 4 if you plan it right. Okay? So this is something I need you to consider before thinking I want to jump to box 4 straight away. That's my first message. Okay, that's my first message. Now, my second message here is this. Think about why you want to change careers. Why do you want to change careers? Actually, this would be the first question I always ask my clients when they come to me and say, Yuan, I want to change careers. My first question will be asking them why. Why? Okay. Now, you may laugh at this, but this is actually very, very important. Okay. If you revisit those issues that you have just listed down early on about an hour ago, okay, what were they? Okay. So I just use the same ones that come up here. Okay. Can any one of you tell me in the chat box which of those issues there would be strong enough for you to change careers totally? Whether it's 2, 3, or 4. What would be the valid reason for you to go to box 2, 3, or 4? Can you type into the chat box? What do you think what reasons would be valid for you to change to box 2, 3, or 4? Okay, some says passion, misalignment, burnout, misalignment, health concerns, misalignment with values and all. Okay, yeah. So I think you're on the right track. Okay, essentially, if you look at it, right? Misalignment, job insecurity, new passion, entrepreneur's pursuit, like work-life balance. Some of you may think work-life balance and health concerns may be related. Actually, yes and no. Okay, but I put down work-life balance because sometimes certain jobs nature forces us to rethink about the things that we're doing. Okay, so if you look at this, right, essentially, not every reason, not every issue is actually a good issue for you to think about changing careers. Okay, because if you look at it, are you running away from your problems if you change careers? Because if you change to another career, would the problems still come back to you? If they do, then maybe it's not about the careers or anything. Maybe it's about how you handle things yourself. Okay, so that's important. Okay, that's important. All right. So think about this. What is the real reason for you to wanting to change careers? All right. Okay. So Jane went through the same thing again, right? And she really started thinking about what she wants to do.
When I examined my issues and reasons, I realized that I didn't need to look for a drastic change. Stagnation was the biggest issue, and I was unhappy with my career progress as well as the limited role I had. I wanted to grow as a marketeer. My difficulties with my boss and colleagues wasn't really something that was unmanageable, as I realized I had a big part to play here too. But underlying all this was the constant rumors of a takeover, something which I worried, but couldn't do anything until it happens.
So if you look at it, right, Jane, when she diagnosed her little situation, she basically saw these few things, right? She felt stagnated, right? She wasn't really happy with the processes, the things that she was doing. She was looking for new challenges and difficult colleagues and boss. Initially, she thought that was the case, but upon deeper analysis, actually, she had a part to play in it as well, right? So that was something that was manageable for her. Insecurity was because of the rumors of a takeover. So she felt insecure at that time, right? So that was her diagnosis. That was her diagnosis of what she had to go, what she went through. So let's come back to this particular chart again. Let's come back to this particular chart again, right? If we look at what we discussed in the first the first section itself, we basically went through the self-assessment, right? So now we need to then start looking at exploring. Okay, we need to then decide where are the places we can look for information to help us decipher all those three areas that we're looking at. Okay, many of us probably more comfortable in going online, right? So these are some of the possible resources that you could think of, right? Whether it's WSG resources, essentially I put on WSG resources, okay, because they are the one that's sponsoring this program, this webinar. But there are many, many resources. These are just some examples. Okay. I also don't want you to ignore the other great resource that all of us have. What resource is that? Is this one. Talking to people around you, your network, or the people that they know. Okay? These are very valuable and really most up-to-date resources we have. Most up-to-date resources we have. All right? Now, just the other day, Jane reached out to me and said, "Hey, Ewan, how can I use AI to help me identify a list of options that I have?" Right? I asked her to try this using one of the AI tools like ChatGPT or whatever. Okay? So this was something that says, okay, you can type this in. I am somebody in the current role or current position, previous position, what you are doing, okay? Then I would like suggestions for what roles I would be a good fit for within what is your preferred industry, right? I have current skills. What are your current skills, right? I want a role which is what, all right? So you put down your current career preferences. So I gave her this framework. I gave her this framework. I said, why don't you give it a try? Use whatever AI tools that you have to think about what you can do, right? So actually, what she did was then recently, just a couple of days ago, she actually came back to me, all right, and gave me this particular output. So she actually typed in using that same framework and typed into a large language model like ChatGPT. Actually, she didn't use ChatGPT. She used Perplexity. I don't know those of you who know what Perplexity is. Perplexity.ai. Okay, you can try that as well. Right? To me, I think Perplexity is actually a better platform than ChatGPT, but that's my own opinion. And it's free. Yeah, it's free. Okay, so this is what she typed in. Senior marketing person with over 20 years experience in my field. I oversee a large marketing team and responsible for brand building for a company's products and services. So essentially, that's what she did. Okay. I'd like some suggestions for what roles I would be good fit for within the tech and media industry. So she was interested to know what she could do in the tech and media industry. So what are the skills? Skills and experience in people management, team building, international marketing and sales, expert in social media marketing, and good with technology, right? And what does she want to do? I want a role where I can have high impact in the community in areas of eco and sustainability issues, working and managing a large team of marketeers with Asia-wide responsibilities, learning and developing my fundraising and social media skills further. Right, so this is what she fed into Perplexity, which is a bit like ChatGPT. Okay, now I asked her whether I could share the output with you guys, and she very kindly given me a link to that particular chat. So bear in mind, what the results she came out with was not something that she said, okay, I'll go and take a look at it. Yes, that's the final answer. No, she used that as something to generate further thinking on her part. Okay, so that is what I urge you to do when you're considering using AI to help you generate options. It starts you thinking further. It should not be the final answer. Is that okay? All right. So I thought this was quite interesting. I wanted to share this with you. Okay. All right. So let's do a quick recap. Right. We spent about 20 minutes on this. Oh, sorry, half an hour on this. Right. So it is about understanding how you develop your list of possible career options. Short chapter. Okay. So we talked a little bit about two broad categories of options that you have right now. Right. The first one is looking at what you're doing currently, and the other one is looking for a total new job, right? So as far as sticking it through it, we have to understand what are some of the problems you can solve or you cannot solve. Is it reality for you, right? Then you ask yourself further questions, okay? What's happening currently? What do you want to do? What do you want to change? Are you sacrificing anything? If you are, what is it? Okay. I brought in a couple of analogies, renovation analogies, okay, making a structural change, making a redesign or a tweak to the current job that you're doing. All right. Then we talked about looking for a new job altogether. All right. And here I emphasize this notion of what we discussed earlier in the last section, right? How we explore what we look at, what are the self-assessment areas that we looked at, what are the focus areas we need to look at, right? And then I discuss what are some possible sources of information, including how you use AI to help you generate some ideas for yourself. Okay. But a couple of things I wanted to make sure, or rather one thing I wanted to make sure that you understand this, okay? Whatever change you make, whether it's to a new career or new job or whatever, make sure you are not running away from your problems. Okay? Make sure that the new situation you go into doesn't generate the same problems for you. Okay? All right. Okay. So basically, at the beginning, we talked about what is the definition, right? Over the last couple of hours or so, we said, what is the definition of a redesigning our career? So this is what I propose. Okay, you need to plan proactively. Okay, so aligning yourself with what drives you, your VIPS, value, interest, personality and strength, or preferences and strengths, to map out your career path. Okay. You want to focus on what skills you need to know, what experiences and knowledge you need to know to support that growth and success. Okay. And very importantly, you can't do this overnight. It is a gradual process over time. All right. So I suggested a couple of learning outputs here. Okay, how to align yourself with your desired career path, how to understand how to develop your list of possible career options. So the first part here, the alignment, we talked a little bit about how you generate self-awareness for yourself. Okay, and what do we mean by self-awareness? Essentially, it is looking at what you are good at, right? What's important to you, what you're passionate about, what engages you, and understanding that a combination of all those things will help us identify how we help people and what is the value add, what is the benefit we give to people, right? So that will ensure that people are willing to pay us for the things that we do, right? Okay, so that is the key component here. The last section that we did was to understand how to develop our list of possible career options. Okay, and the emphasis here I wanted to sort of highlight is really to understand that what is reality. If you cannot change reality, right, then there's no point trying to waste our time trying to resolve things that we cannot change. That's the first key thing. The other key thing that we need to understand, if you are looking at a different career path, right, if you change your career path, would the same problems that you face still come up again, right? If it does, then maybe it's not about changing a career path or changing a job even. Maybe it's about something that you need to adjust within yourself. Okay? We talked about these focus areas, right? What are some of the things you need to look at in terms of exploring for options, right? Career exploration. I brought up this example of using AI, which was something new in my webinars. So hopefully you'll find it interesting enough to go and give it a try, right? But the whole thing here is this, okay? Whenever you are seeking a change or redesign of your own career, the first thing you need to know how to do, and this is something I emphasize to all my coaching students, okay, is to present yourself on the table. What are the possible things you can do? Then you decide. You have things that you can decide on. You don't narrow yourself to just one person and say, oh no, I can only do this. No, you have to look at it carefully and say, what are some other options? Put it down. Okay. Then you have a clearer picture of what you can do or what is possible for you. Right? So that is the critical thing. That is a critical thing. Okay. I'll come back to Jane. All right. So Jane, after she went through all the exercises, right, there were some things that sort of happened to her and some things that she did as well. Okay. Why don't I let Jane share her thoughts about after she went through the exercise and what are the things that happened to her as a result of the thing that she had done.
When I went through the redesign process with Yuan, I was looking for strong guidance in identifying what options I had. The exercises helped a lot in clarifying my thoughts and made me look outside of my normal parameters. Perhaps I can share what eventually happened soon after. I was able to adjust some of my work and developed in-house expertise in the new social media channels, and gradually moved a portion of our marketing to more community-focused efforts. A year later, my company was bought over by another global FMCG company. I was transferred to the new regional office where I took charge of Southeast Asia marketing activities for our brand. I believe my positive outlook and willingness to relook at the way things are done helped me a lot in making this possible. As of today, I've been promoted to head the Asia Pac role for marketing and have direct input into product development at Global HQ, and I'm really happy.
Right. So you can see that Jane's issues was really a combination of things that she could influence and things that she couldn't. And I think that's a real world, isn't it? Nothing is as clear cut, right? So you could be feeling the same thing as well. right? So she basically looked at what she could control and what she could influence and what things she needed to do to make her situation better, right? And it just so happened, I won't call it coincidence because sometimes, coincidences, luck happens when you make it happen, right? So in her situation, she adjusted the way she worked in her current company despite the constraints. Then when her company was bought over, because she was she was seen as being very proactive, very positive, and very action oriented, the new owners liked what she was doing and actually promoted her. So, those of you who are facing the same situation, in other words, if your company is also looking at being restructured or being taken over by another company, I suggest you don't lose heart. Okay? Be very positive about the whole situation. Look at it positively and say, how can I make myself indispensable? How can I make myself more valuable even to the new owners? Right? Think about it this way, because the worst case scenario is what? The worst case scenario, yeah, you may not be part of the new structure, but you have learned things about yourself that you can easily transfer to another opportunity. Right? Best case scenario might be what? The new owners, like what Jane has gone through, right? Go over and say, hey, you are doing great in your previous job, right? I want continuity. I want you to be continuing with our new company, right? And because of your experiences and your great attitude, I want more response. I'll give you more responsibilities. Okay. So really, it is about looking at the situation, the context that's happening around you, looking at what you are able to deliver in terms of your capability, your problem solving skills, and your experiences. What adjustments you need to make? What adjustments you need to make the situation better for yourself? Okay, so that's the redesign process. Now, before we go into that survey, I just want to highlight the next upcoming workshops that I'm going to conduct. As I mentioned, 27th of March is the one on developing a career switching strategy. So that's another webinar here. Coping with change and career confidence after 40 will be in April and May. Okay, so again, you can register for this in the usual way. Right, the link is here below as well. All right. In the next portion, those of you who have been with me before, you will know this. So if you want to leave now, you can. But the next portion, I'm basically giving you some ideas on how to continue with this. Those of you who want a recording of this today's webinar, the next portion, I'm going to tell you how to access the recording. Okay. So in the meantime, help me fill up this feedback forms. All right. And then I'll come back. I'll continue with the rest of it. Those of you who wants a copy of the way to access the video recording of this, stay tuned for that. All right. So I see you guys in a bit. Let me then go through on the last portion with you on the ways that you can gain the video recording. So everything I'm going to share with you over the next few slides can actually be seen in this particular link here. Okay, beacons.ai / career bliss. Okay, or you can scan the QR code here. So essentially, by scanning the QR code, it brings you to this particular page itself. All right, so it's very simple. Okay, let me run through this with you. So basically, this is like a so-called bio profile, right? So here, the top three here, you can click to keep in touch with me, either going through by email or my LinkedIn profile or even the Facebook group, right? You can take a look there as well. And then also there's the YouTube channel there. Okay, so you can take a look at that. Essentially, a lot of recordings are in the YouTube channel. Okay, so every time there's a new upload, I'll be posting it here. But what I suggest you do is that you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that whenever it's posted, it'll give you an update. Okay. Now, those of you who don't want to do that, that's fine. But I can send you a link to that new recording if you help me fill this up. Help me fill this up, because then it gives me permission to send that link to you in the form of a newsletter. I only send the newsletter once a month at most. Okay, January I didn't do so because the last workshop was actually in a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to combine in the next newsletter, which is for February itself. I'm going to combine links to two recordings. Okay, so which will be from last week as well as today's session as well. Okay, so there was a question on the Career Bliss link. So let me just type this into the chat box so that you all can take a look at that. Okay, so the Career Bliss is in the chat box. The link is in the chat box. Okay, so here you want the link to the video recording. Please fill this up, right? Then I got your email. Then I'll send it by a newsletter, probably in a couple of weeks' time. If you want the recording, get access to the recording faster, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Then you'll be informed of the recording once it's loaded up. Okay. Now, you don't want to receive the newsletter. Once you get it, you can unsubscribe anytime you like. I'm only going to send it once. Okay. In that newsletter, I'll also include other things, other tidbits to help you on your career journey as well. Right. So up to you. Okay. Now, those of you who are interested in what I do, okay, you can also click on this My Services part. Then it tells you about some of the things that I do. Okay, whether it's you want to be certified career coach, I instruct people to become career coaches, or if you are in a company that requires some help in terms of career transition or career solution, by all means do so. Okay. My final word. Okay. Today, you are here to look at ways you can change certain things about your career, right? Be it looking at changing what you do, right, into a different direction, or looking at what's possible for you within your current situation, right? Listening to this webinar over the last 2.5 hours, hopefully it helped you think about things, but I would suggest that beyond thinking, you do something about it, okay? Distance between dreams and reality is called action. And I think I came across this particular definition yesterday. I just wanted to share this with you. To lead the life you want, you must have a vision that's useful, a compelling image of an achievable future. Once you've found some resolution in your mind, view of your real prospects, the next step on your journey can commence. Okay? Essential task is to find meaning and a sense of purpose, to take control over what you actually can do. Okay? So again, those of you who are feeling unhappy, unfulfilled in things that you do, you want to do something different, take action. Take action. Right? Chinese New Year is coming up. Okay, Year of the Dragon, and it's seen as a very prosperous animal for those of you who believe in such things. Okay, as with any new Lunar New Year that comes rolling by, I would like to wish everyone here, you, a best of health and success. Okay, have a great Lunar New Year, and I hope all the prosperity for the new dragon year comes to you, right, in the way that you want it to be. Okay, I am happy to be in touch, keep in touch with you guys, whether it is through email, whatever, follow me on LinkedIn or anything also can, right? But I wish you every success. All right. If there's nothing else, I'd like to thank everyone for your time here. Right, it is just almost 4:30 already, 4:20. Right, take care. Right, 恭喜发财. And I hope you have a great long weekend. All right, I see you guys soon. Ciao.